dog is a thorn in my flesh. We all know that. So she's been digging out under the fence and, going and exploring in the neighborhood. And then the neighbors we are driving into the driveway and they're like, oh my gosh, your dog. And we're like, she's fine. She's not going to go far from home. She loves us. But so we've been going out when we put them outside in the yard, keeping an eye on her so she doesn't stress the neighbors out. So Cooper takes the dogs out to go to the bathroom Saturday night. And he goes out, and this is now what he told me was going through his brain. Somebody else's small black dog is in our yard. So our big dog starts playing with this small dog in our yard for a couple of minutes as he pounces on the dog and plays with the dog. And then Cooper hears a sound similar to a water sprinkler, which is the skunk spraying my dogs.
So that little dog turned out to not be a dog.
Turned out it was a skunk. And I guess typically dogs are smart enough to not get sprayed by skunks unless they've never encountered one. And then they don't know that the front foot stamping, the tail raising
is a sign
of getting ready to get sprayed. So Samson got sprayed in the face. Cooper runs in the house freaking out. Brian starts freaking out. I was in my bedroom. Everyone's yelling in the living room. While they're yelling, the big dog runs in the house, rubs his skunk-filled face over the rug. And so anyway, that's what's going on in our house is it smells like a skunk. So
did you get rid of the skunk smell?
Well, Brian washed the dogs each 3 times following this very stringent protocol that we found online, and they smell pretty good for the most part. The house smells pretty good for the most part. The challenge was it happened at 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
So for that night, everyone just went to bed angry with the whole house smelling like skunk.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't feeling great, and so I wasn't going to get up and help. Yeah. And Brian was too tired. And Cooper and his friend that were sleeping over, they don't know what to do. So everyone just went to bed holed up in a skunk-infested.
What did the dogs do for the night?
Samson had to sleep outside, and Allie would sneak out of the fence, but Brian was pretty sure Allie didn't get sprayed, so Allie slept in her crate, but I think she smelled like skunk. Anyway, whatever. It's fine. We're a few days in, and the house smells mostly back to normal.
You should invite somebody over to smell your house that hasn't been living in it to see what they think.
Yeah, that's interesting, because Chase told me he thinks I'm, what did he call it? Nose blind, I think. And I was just like, what are you talking about? And he goes, I still smell that skunk everywhere. Of course he does.
Well, did you clean your rug?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Shampooed, redid this. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But we shouldn't smell it anywhere.
You shouldn't, except for that skunk smells pretty potent.
Oh, my gosh.
One time, a skunk got into our garage.
Ugh.
And we had a friendly neighbor that was going to come and help us get it out of the garage.
No.
Instead, he shot it in the garage, and the skunk sprayed as it was shot, and there was skunk spray all over our garage.
Oh, my goodness. Now, I understand that a skunk lifts its tail to spray, but until I was reading about it, I guess I didn't realize that it comes straight out of their butthole. I did not know that. I just thought it had a different place back there that had a little squirter on it full of spray. But I can't even with skunks. I just can't. I can't deal with another skunk again in this life.
Yeah.
So we're done with that.
Watch out for full moons. That's when they come out.
Would you like to introduce yourself to our friends?
Hey, everyone. I'm Heather, and this is Jamie. And this is the podcast Life in Motion, where we talk about life and all the ups and downs and everything in between.
Including the animals.
Including the animals that ruin our lives.
So let's get started. So we're taking our friends and ourselves on a journey.
Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of fun.
This episode, this season. So how are you doing on your journey? How have you grown in the last week? I hope you have lots to share, because I was saying before we hit record, I feel like I've grown all I need to grow.
Yeah, you're done.
I've done really well.
You're done. Let's take a poll for the people in your family, your coworkers, and see what they think. Let's see. I know I still have a lot of work to do. I'm kind of dragging my feet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just working on my diet and, getting healthier physically, but I know that I have more work to do emotionally, blind spots, hidden
Let's talk about those blind spots. I've
thoughts,
been meaning to
ideas.
say, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
So I do need to start on that stuff. So enough about me.
You know, what would be helpful for me to talk about today likely would be, what do you do when you've hit a bump in the road and you've stopped your forward motion? How do you get right back on track? I would say I'm doing everything I feel like the Lord has led me to do with my eating and with my spiritual growth. But we have been going through a season of COVID in our house. And so my 14-year-old had it, and then we had a week or two off, and everybody's healthy, and the house is disinfected and all that. And then I got it. And then that too passed. And anyway, I've got the third person in our house now is down. But with that, it actually hit me pretty hard. And so now I haven't exercised in 3 weeks. Where remember just not so long ago, I was just like, if you don't feel like exercising, just a quick 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
I think it's amazing that when you give advice, like, oh, this
It comes
is
back
easy.
to bite you in the butt.
And then
It's no big deal, everybody. It's no big deal. You just make yourself exercise every day.
as soon as I give advice for something or say, oh, yeah, that's no problem for me, then
Yeah.
it's like all of a sudden, like, yes, you do have a problem there.
Yeah. I think my problem in that regard was not even about exercise. I think it was about humility. So we are still in school. We've still got that going for us. Thank goodness for a season in life where everyone can Zoom into school.
Yeah.
Not in your car, not driving fast, but when I was home on quarantine, I could participate in school through my computer and all that. But we were learning last week that the mark of humanity is that we're dust and we're spirit. You know, that because we're spirit, we should be bold in our speaking of the truth, and maybe bold in my declaration of working out or whatever. But to always remember that we're made of dust. So we should be completely 100% humble, full of humility. And I feel like that's something I'm probably always going to struggle with because I'm an Enneagram 8, because I'm a challenger and I'm a bold personality. Like, we were just talking just a hot second ago. I'm like, it's really not that hard. When you don't feel like doing it, you just do it. And then I was literally down and out. I could not exercise. I probably could have exercised today. Could have been my first time back. But I didn't have time to get it done this morning. Anyway, just a big slap in the face of maybe I'm not as humble as I'd like to think I am.
Yeah, you are supremely confident in everything.
I know. I know. Yeah, I'm going to have that. The tension should be I'm supremely confident and completely humble. And I'm trying to embrace weakness. In what areas of my life am I weak? Am I truly weak? And share that with people instead of just sharing the strength. So maybe instead of telling this story like it's a joke, which it kind of is to me, but telling this like, I'm face to face with the fact that I feel like I'm starting over at square one again, which is weakness to me because it only takes you about 2.5 weeks to be out of shape. And now I've got to get back up and start over again. And I'm weak right now. Fun.
You know, I wonder, there's a tension in this journey that we're on, and hopefully our listeners are on it as well, that as you learn about yourself and you start overcoming something, whether it's a blind spot that you've had or you realize that you have for me, a judgmental attitude or whatever it might be, or, your fitness, your diet, your health that you've been working on, that you start to lose that humility and you begin judging other people.
Like the FDA.
Yeah.
I'm very judgmental right now.
Judging
GMOs.
other people
Yeah.
of what that they're not doing, that they're not along with you.
And our journeys are unique.
Yeah. I had a friend who had a troubled childhood, really difficult childhood. And she got married a little bit later in life. And then I forget what the trigger was for her, but she decided she was going to start working on herself. Like she went on a spiritual journey. She's not a Christian, but went on a spiritual journey of self-discovery and who she was going to be and leaving the past behind and everything. And her husband was perfectly content with who he was and wasn't going to, he was like, I don't want to go on that spiritual journey with you. I'm happy with who I am and what I believe about God.
That husband sounds like when Brian, for all these years, is saying we could have a great marriage, and I'm like, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Good thing he didn't leave me. Okay, go ahead.
But anyway, she ended up divorcing him, not because they had a great time together. They had a nice marriage, but because he did not want to be or go where she was going, she just decided that she didn't want to be joined with someone who wouldn't take the same journey as her.
Wow.
Which I think is, in all of this,
it's a huge danger if you get off by 2 degrees, by 1 degree.
by 1 degree.
Your 1 degree is that thing you're doing, which is hilarious.
But you're like, well, this is my path, and then you start to leave.
So who determines a path? Is it innately inside you, or is it God-given, or is it both? Who determines the path that we're on?
That's a good question. I think that there are things that are innately inside of you that...
Which I guess would still be God-given then.
God-given.
Yeah,
they're innately inside of you. I think there's other things that we adopt.
Sure.
Because of the way that we are raised.
Like weakness is bad.
Yeah.
I've adopted that and lived it out for 45 years, like a core belief.
Right. Like you show up in strength in every situation. Yes. You go out and you achieve your dreams and don't let anybody stop you.
Yes.
And you don't accept failure.
Yeah.
You don't accept weakness, which are in certain regards good things.
Probably a piece of my God-given personality 1 degree off.
Yeah. Because
or maybe 50 degrees off
because
sometimes.
you take that a few degrees and then it's like, well, achievement means pursuing this job.
Oh, yeah.
And this transfer to this
or
place.
Or if I'm not happy, make a change.
Yeah.
Like I'm learning now in the middle of my life that there's places God has me that aren't always comfortable or full of happy feelings that have lessons he wants me to learn. And if I continue to jump ship when I'm in a situation that feels weak, I'm missing out on his best for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even in, I have not been in all of your and Brian's conversations, but
okay.
say there's a situation where you are feeling weak, but you show up in strength.
Oh, yeah.
And it pulls you away from Brian.
Oh, absolutely.
And it robs you and him of the opportunity to bring his strength to your weakness.
Yeah.
And for him to be able to serve you in that situation.
It's so fascinating because we've talked about this already this season, but maybe worth bringing up again that I've really been wrestling with. I feel like I'm doing what God has illuminated for me to do, which is work on my health, to be in some counseling, to do these things. And then I wrestle with, can I sit down on a podcast and elevate that? Because I don't ever want anybody to think that God isn't supreme in my life, and that's what you chase first and foremost, and 100% everything else falls under it. Now I don't even know where I was going with. But I do have to work on the things that fall under the supreme as well, because when I show up in my marriage and I want to show my weakness, I'm having to learn a whole different language. And I don't mean like different words to use necessarily. I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is to control and to demand and to command. And so the tone of those conversations is always harsh. So if I want to show up in weakness, even if I wanted to tell Brian, like, I'm hurting right now, I would be like, don't you realize this is hurtful? And then that tone comes across in such a way that he's going to lash back out at me because it came across as a controlling, harsh tone.
Don't you realize that this is hurtful is saying, don't you realize what a
wrong.
jerk you are?
Exactly. But I've never known that. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I've never known that. Like, that is crazy. I've never known that because it is my protector. It is my ego kicking in. Like, I want to go there with you, kind of, but I don't want you to dare hurt me. So I'm going to go there on my terms. What a mess.
Which ends up hurting other people.
Everybody.
Alienating people.
Yes.
And,
So to learn to shut down ego. Anyway, these are things I'm learning that are not found in the Bible, but nevertheless, they're found in the Bible. This is what I'm learning about school right now, or what I'm loving about school right now, Heather, is how many things did I think I understood from the Word of God, but didn't know how to dig deep enough to realize there's a whole bunch more meaning than anything I ever dreamt. I'm not trying to give a sales pitch, but I am a natural salesperson. If we have people from Tulsa, COTMU starts up every August and runs through the end like a normal school year, and you should look into it. I would pay $5 million. I don't really have $5 million. I shouldn't say that. That's a lie. I wouldn't pay $5 million to go because I couldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
I would really go.
Yeah.
Just learning that there's so much more. So I'm studying these other things along the side, looking at it in light of God's Word and going, whoa, of course the Lord would want me to work on these things. But anyway, yeah, this is an interesting journey. I thought I was done growing, but I'm probably not.
Did you go to church this weekend?
Yes, you better believe it.
So
I don't skip church regularly.
We'll put this in the show notes if you don't attend COTM. But
oh my goodness,
Blake's message. Our Professor Blake, his message this weekend was so good. And he talked about spiritual warfare in a way that I had not really thought about it before. And I really thought it was beautiful. He was talking about spiritual warfare as, I wanted to listen to it again, so help me if I get it wrong.
Okay.
But
I'd love to correct you.
Yeah. Spiritual warfare as the little differences and offenses that come up, and you are actually engaging in spiritual warfare when you overcome those offenses and you move into the discomfort of relationships.
Yes.
Over
that spiritual warfare is pretty common. It just natural happens in your life all the time and we don't recognize it, but you can beat spiritual darkness by leaning into conflict and overcoming. Crazy.
Which I hate conflict. I don't want to lean into uncomfortable
conflict.
feelings.
I just want to knock you down and beat you up. Conflict doesn't bother me one bit. I just don't love resolution.
So last night, my teenage daughter, who can drive me crazy like all teenage daughters can do, but we've been working on some things and me trying to communicate to her, and it's usually exasperating to her when I say things. But anyway, I've been trying to communicate my feelings on some things, and she comes in and says I'm trying to get her to understand how money works.
Okay.
So,
okay.
You got to make money to spend money, and everything costs money. And this is how much, if you're working for an $8 an hour job, this is how many hours that you're going to have to work
to buy one single pair of shoes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work to buy those shoes.
Yeah.
So trying to help her to make sense of reality. And she's still a long way off. And
in her defense, her brain's not fully developed
It's not fully developed. But so she comes in, there's a homecoming dance coming up, and she comes in and she wants an outfit for the homecoming dance, and it's an alien theme. And so to me, I see it, this is my personality and my values, but I see it as it's all junk that you're going to wear one time and probably
call
not
me.
even for the whole
Lucy, call me. I've
evening.
got some money.
And you're going to then throw it away. And so I'm going to spend money on this outfit. And I'm just like, I don't even want to. And she gets upset with me and storms out of the room. And
can I send her some money?
no, she's fine. She's fine. She's going to do it.
17.
She's going to do some chores and
Okay.
whatever. We'll work it out. But anyway,
I don't believe you should give her the money. I'm asking if I can give her the money.
Whit's out in the living room. I'm in the bedroom. She'd come in and talk to me, and Whit texted me, and he's like, Lucy's really frustrated and upset, and just rolling my eyes, like, what? You don't even know. You don't even know, Whit.
So in light of Professor Blake's message,
it came to my mind, and I was just going to let it go. I was just like, I'm going to bed. But I thought of that message, and I was like, no, I'm going to go and talk to her. And so I went out and I talked to her, and just one more time I said, the way I see this happens is you just come in and you want to say, spend this money.
sure.
And it's like, it feels like a demand to me that you don't respect my values. You don't have any idea how money works.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I don't want to talk about it anymore tonight. I apologize if I was rude. And we'll talk about it again tomorrow. And she apologized for her.
I'm feeling feelings of weakness right now.
Really?
And I want to bail her out. I just want you to know that's what I feel right now. I'm not going to. You're right, and you're doing what's right for your relationship and for her learning and for all that. So bravo.
So she's kind of operating under the guise of, it's my senior year. You should
That's
just
how
spend
I'm operating too.
unlimited amounts of money on me. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. So anyway, but I thought of that as the spiritual warfare is we could have gone to bed frustrated and upset with each other. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do that. We're going to come together and have just at least express our feelings one more time, apologize for any bad feelings that we might have had towards each other, and table it for tonight.
That is really interesting. As Professor Blake, as I like to call him, was speaking this weekend, I had this thought come to my mind. So I haven't shared this on here. I think it's okay because I can share it in such a way that I can protect this person's anonymity. But I had someone reach out to me. You'll remember this. I had somebody reach out to me several weeks ago. Can we get together? And I'm thinking, like, I don't mean this ugly. I really don't. But like, I mean, we're coming off our third round of COVID, and Brian had some health thing happen. And I mean, just like, treading water in life right now is what it feels like. It's a season of treading water in life. And then I'm discovering that I don't like weakness and so many things. It's hard to accommodate certain asks right now.
Yeah.
So I was going to say no. And then this person reaches out again to say that was pretty vague, because this is someone that I do have a relationship with, but I would say we're not close in the fact that like we don't text regularly. We don't see one another. We wave from across the church. I care deeply about this person, but we're not close. Texts again and says, that was pretty vague. I'd like to apologize for some things. And then I was like, I can't do this right now. I can't. So I thought about it, reached back out and just said, I'm going to counseling this week, and let me talk to my counselor first, because I just am having this feeling inside that I am holding no offense towards you in any way. And I just have a feeling whatever you're going to say is going to potentially cause me to be offended. I don't know and the response was so kind. Wow, thank you for being so honest. I just felt like I was supposed to reach out. I'll leave this in the Lord's, all these things. But now several weeks later, as Blake was speaking, I thought, have I come to understand my weakness in a way that now it's time to say, if you still want to, I'm good. Or if that's water under the bridge, I'm good. Or anyway, trying to decide, because what I did learn in counseling was, am I setting up that boundary for myself Because if so, it's a good boundary. Or am I setting up a wall to keep that person out? In which case, that's false strength. Like,
Yeah.
I can keep you out. Like, here's the
Right.
wall, you have to stay out.
Right.
So anyway, now that some time has passed, in the beginning, I was 100% certain I was doing it for myself. And now enough time's passed, have I grown to the point where if I continue the boundary, is it a wall that I'm keeping some? Anyway, so maybe I'm not done growing up. Maybe I'm going to have to keep growing.
Maybe back to counseling you go.
Oh my goodness! With the COVID, and I was out for a couple weeks. I missed a couple appointments. Sure, probably.
March yourself right back in there.
Heather, some of what we've been talking about with conflict kind of reminds me of the story you shared recently about your resentment towards Whit.
Yeah.
Would you say how? Well, what would you say about that in light of what we're talking about?
What would I say about that? Like, as far as spiritual warfare goes, I knew I'm having these feelings. I'm not happy with things that he's doing or whatever. And I recognize that in that I'm having a bad attitude about stuff. And for the record, it's small things, but it's little small things that pile up.
Yeah.
And then I'm all of a sudden like, well, you're doing this and you're not doing that. And I just have this bad attitude that's piling on each other. So I recognize that I'm having a bad attitude and I'm trying to get out of it, trying to stop the bad attitude by praying and saying, Lord, forgive me for my bad attitude. Help me to have a good attitude. And what I needed to do was step into that spiritual warfare place of presenting my weakness, my bad attitude, my sin to Whit and, asking him to come in and for him to be able to then bridge the gap there.
Yeah.
Because he was so gracious when I apologized that he was just like, forgiven. Tell me what I'm doing that's making you feel this way.
I think that's part of the story that I've loved so much. I've heard him out of his own mouth say, help me understand.
Yeah.
This same thing happened to a very lesser degree recently when we were talking about a vacation.
Yeah.
An upcoming trip, and you started getting frustrated. And he very kindly was like, what do I not see? What do I not see right now? There's something that I don't understand. How are you feeling? Why are you feeling this way?
Yeah.
But those conversations are possible because of what you did.
Right. And I could have apologized and said, I'm frustrated with this and that, and it's causing me to have a bad attitude. And he could have said, well, I do that because of this, and I have the right to do this.
Sure, I love that voice.
That's his voice. And he probably would have had a right to say,
goodness.
But he came in and met me where I was at, and it dissipated the tension. And I still have work to do on my end for sure, because that judgmental attitude wants to continually creep back in and things like that. But so I have to work on things on my end to keep that from happening and vocalizing my feelings.
I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that you shared that story, because as I sit here thinking about the areas that I can grow or need to grow, what you did so beautifully that you modeled for me was complete humility in how you leaned into the conflict. Because I was just talking about that a minute ago. Like I want to lean in and I want to show Brian where I'm weak. I'm just still a little scared to do it full of humility. So instead it's like, you're hurting my feelings.
Yeah.
Which is not taking us where we need to go.
Yeah.
It's very good.
I think for you and me and our listeners, what we need to be on our guard about in this whole journey, wherever you at, whatever steps you're taking to health, spiritual, emotional, physical health, are things that don't that push us towards discontent and away from godliness. So I would say that part of my issue that I need to be on guard about is maybe watching or reading romantic comedies. And I'm dead serious when I say this, that I am watching a show where a couple is just so in love and everything's perfect and he's just wonderful.
Yeah.
And I start to compare and think, well, Whit doesn't do that, and Whit doesn't do that, and or whatever it might be.
Sure.
That's pushing me towards discontent and stirring up a bad attitude. And we can see this all over our lives with news.
Oh, man.
I mean, if a news outlet that you're listening to is pushing you away from loving your neighbor,
Wow. Sure.
then I would say it's time to...
You just stepped on some toes.
Well, yeah. We need our toes stepped on.
We do.
Or, you know, if it's whatever it might be, that if you're engaging in something that is pushing you towards discontent, then it's might be time to turn it off.
Sure. That's scrolling through social media. It's a million things.
It's a million things, because you could be scrolling through social media and you see somebody has this job, then they're like, I went and I got my degree and I got this better job and everything. And that pushes you towards discontent of, well, maybe I need to disrupt my whole life and go get a degree. That might not be the right thing for you.
That was a very big example. I was thinking more of like, I need new clothes because it's fall and fall fashion's everywhere.
That's true.
You know, I might not have a budget set aside for it, but those
I
jeans
just gotta go
cute.
get it. And then you end up buying some things and hiding them under your bed.
Yeah, exactly. Or just in your closet if you have a bedroom that has a his and hers closet like I do.
Yeah.
You don't even have to hide them under your bed. You can just hide them in your own closet.
Okay, so
Okay, so let's do this. Can we give our friends homework?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know why we couldn't.
It's their choice whether to do it or not, but...
Oh, you're going to do it. I'm going to use all of my confidence and persuasion. In our show notes, let's drop the link to Professor Blake's message. And you should listen to it. So good. He is a self-proclaimed Bible nerd. He says things that I love and adore, like, I feel like I'm called to the body of Christ to read like textbooks that are like this big to find the one nugget of truth that the whole body of Christ should know, and I'll give it to you. And I'm like, thank you, because I don't feel called to read that book. He's wonderful. Man, he challenges the way I think. Anyway, I'd love for you to hear that. And then after you do, text the words Life in Motion to 23101 and just put it in
prompts.
writing. Yeah, just follow the prompts, put it in writing what you need to lean into this week.
Yeah. What do you need to move away from?
Okay, very good. Okay, lean into as far as like maybe a conflict you need to lean into and grow from, or move away from social media, or
causing discontent.
Yes, or news or what have you. So please do this with us. So please text us and do this with us. Before we wrap though, Heather, what have you done in the last week that has brought you or those around you joy? Just for the joy of it.
Okay, well, this is easy. My darling children are in cross country, and it brought me great joy to go to one of their cross country meets this week
You
and
love cross
cheer
country.
them on. I love my kids.
Okay.
I love cross country is a great sport as well, but I love my kids, and my daughter really just stepped her game up
good.
and did so good in her race. The girls overall placed second in the meet, so that was a really great finish for them.
Good for them.
And my son did well. He had another PR, which is a personal record. So the week before, he ran a 5K in 21 minutes and 15 seconds, and this time he ran it in 21 minutes flat or something.
Oh my goodness. You just improved.
You're taking
upon
time
his
off
best
every
score. Oh my
every
goodness.
time. So
I'm proud of him.
He's doing so good.
And he's real cute.
He is super cute.
I've been waiting to tell you what I've done that brought me joy, and I cannot believe I'm going to say it. And I don't condone cursing, so I've
Okay.
got to say that. I watched Ted Lasso season 1.
Oh my goodness.
Because you and Brian both said it's so funny, it's so good. And I watched half of one episode like a year ago or whatever when Brian was watching it. And I was like, this is not my kind of humor. This is so dumb. And then Whit referenced Ted Lasso in a sermon. And I was just like, I'm going to be outdone by Whit. He's the first to cave. He's going to watch it.
Because Whit did not want to watch the show. He did
didn't.
exactly what you did. He
I
watched
know.
one half of
Stupid.
an episode
Hate it.
and was like, nah, I'm not going to watch it. And then
Yeah.
finally he jumped on the bandwagon.
I know. And I just thought, if Whit's going to watch it, I'm not going to be the last one standing where I can't talk about things with my friends. So when I wasn't feeling well, I just binged watch it. I haven't quite finished season 1, but I love Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
So just for the joy of it, I've been binge watching Ted Lasso, and just for the joy of it, today I'm going to watch another episode. So anyway, I thought you'd enjoy that.
I love it.
Bad language.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
But he's so funny. So.
Yeah, you got to watch it with your fingers ready.
You gotta just So anyway, if you have enjoyed this week's episode, or maybe we've stirred something in you and you want to make some changes with us, man, thanks for joining us. Just text us 23101, the words Life in Motion, follow the prompts, and share this with a friend. I believe that you and Heather and I are not the only ones that could benefit from spiritual growth, emotional growth, and physical growth. So we would love for your friends to come along on the journey with us. Like, subscribe, share, and we will see you next week on Life in Motion. Thanks.